I messed up.
Oh.
Y'all are live.
Oh, we are live? Okay, so there we go. We are live, apparently.
Here we are.
Are you guys ready? This is Football and Other F Words. I'm Zach Lyons. Jackson behind the glass, screwing up the music right off the back.
Great start.
Yeah, great start. Fantastic. That's why we pay him the big bucks over there to mess up this vaunted award-winning. You know, this is an award-winning podcast you have now joined, right?
What award did you win?
The So Bros Network Creator of the Year Award, Nashville Sports Creator, Content Writer of the Year Award.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Got a plaque for it,
I got a plaque for it. Stoney Keeley of said So Bros Network awarded me
so it was rigged.
Well, he wasn't a part of the podcast at that point.
No, I wasn't. And it was voted on by the fans. There's like
that's true.
700 people voted.
When are the next awards coming out?
I've already got the winner. I just haven't ordered the plaque yet.
So I'm assuming.
Do you want to break it?
Well, yeah, here.
You want to break it?
Yeah, go ahead.
This year's Creator of the Year, Tyler Rowland.
There you go.
Titans podcast.
A guy for Nashville content creator, Nashville sports content creator that lives in fucking Cincinnati won.
It's open.
So this is how you know it's not rigged, Jackson, just so you know.
It's fully open.
Because I was in that as well.
Every year, I blast it on Twitter.
Do you think I wonder if he just like kept mentioning it. Hey, y'all vote for me on his show.
I didn't get a lot of notifications that he was like sharing it a lot. So I don't know. I mean, I know he's got a large following on Twitter, but it's open to everybody. I asked Twitter, the fans, like, hey, who do you want to see who deserves the recognition? Because this is a small circle. I don't feel like a lot
Well, it's really small if you take into account the name of the award, because then there was only one. Because I was the only fucking guy that lives in Nashville.
So it's just a way to say,
that's a good question.
Hey, you're doing a good job out there. A lot of it, I'm not saying we have some hard lives and we're victims or anything, but it is a thankless job. You put your
this season we were definitely victims.
Yeah. And so I open it up and I say, who do you guys like? And then I take who gets the most nominations. Those are the finalists, and then I put a Google form, and anybody can go in.
There you go.
So it wasn't rigged, Jackson. It wasn't rigged.
SoBrosNetwork.com, Hot Read Podcast, Stoney Keeley, at Stoney Keeley. Follow him on Twitter, also stack in the inbox. We'll be at the Senior Bowl starting Monday through Friday, 6 p.m., and Saturday directly after the game. Well, not directly after the game. We like to let all the, what would you call them, lazies? The lazies.
All the unserious people?
Yeah, all the unserious people leave right after the game's over. We like to stay inside.
Well, hold up.
Okay.
Most of the people are leaving after the practice on Thursday.
Well, that's true. We stay for the game, and then, this year I think we'll have to get to the press box a little bit earlier. So remember, 2 years ago was probably one of the top 5 most hungover I've ever been 2 years ago, and nobody was there. So you could just stroll in. We got front row seats. Last year, we were expecting the same kind of situation. Now, we were sober. I mean, that morning. 2 years ago, we were probably still drunk.
We were fair enough. An important distinction. Yes.
Yeah, we were not hung over, and then we got there because we were like, okay, well, nobody's ever there, so we'll get there a little bit about an hour later, and then everybody was there. So this year we'll have to probably be early.
Do you remember those hot dogs they had in the press box?
Yes, they were disgusting.
It was a hot dog with sauerkraut.
Yeah.
I don't think it was even chili. I think it was just ground beef, mustard, ketchup, and then a single pickle chip on top of it. I ate like 4 of those things.
Yeah, because we were trying to get the alcohol soaked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did not work. When we got to Winsel's after the game, I thought that maybe one of us would die right there on the bar.
Yeah, that's how it goes, man.
We were so like I said, top 5 hangover moment.
Listen, people sleep on that off day, that Friday of Senior Bowl week, because there's no practices. The parade, the free concert, that kind of stuff is that night. But that was our off day. So we hit up, what did you say, like 5 breweries, a few different restaurants?
Well, last year was 5 breweries, 3 restaurants, and we eventually stayed out so late that someone that we saw at the first brewery, we saw at the last restaurant.
Yeah.
Working both.
How shit-faced was he?
Well, no. He was He was an employee, and then I was like, "Hey, we saw you. You served us at the brewery," and he goes, "Shh." Like we
anybody.
apparently
Yeah.
he's
They don't know about that.
They don't know he has a second job,
Yeah.
which in Mobile would be very hard to believe that nobody knows he has a second job.
Well, I'm just hoping I can get some more of that King Cake Seltzer.
The King Cake Seltzer was good. All those seltzers were really good.
Red Hot, the Moscow Mule.
I'm very surprised because we had so many different things. I wasn't hungover because that's a big thing for me. Is that like when I start mixing, terrible.
We did waters though. We were
did?
heavy on the waters. Waters in between each drink.
All right,
Because we're getting old.
we are getting old. So listen, we got the Borgonzi happening.
The big Borgonzi.
The Borgonzi. The Borgonzi.
Borgonzi.
The
Joe
Borgonzi.
Burrow. Joe Burrow.
Listen, so he was on Ramon,
he's not
Kayla, and
watching.
Will this morning.
Yeah.
Now, if that's Pat McAfee, it's Ramon and others. If it's Pat McAfee.
That was good. Yeah.
But when he said idea, Mike Borgonzi said idea for idea. Fucking Ramon lost it live on the camera. He just started laughing, and I thought it was the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Couple of questions. We'll get to Mike Borgonzi and all that. Zach, who would Borgonzi main on Marvel Rivals? Bet he's a Hulk guy. I'm sorry, he's a Punisher guy. You could totally tell he's a Punisher guy.
He looks like a Punisher guy. Yeah. And I know, like he said, this is weird. My Boston accent's terrible.
I can only do it. I can only do it when I talk about, hey, we're gonna go watch The Departed.
Yeah.
The Departed. My favorite. I can't do it after that. Just for some reason, The Departed.
The Departed. My
You know
favorite
that,
movie.
And then of course he says, how's your mama and them? Or something.
I don't think that's Boston, buddy.
Well, then Mark Wahlberg says he's Boston.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
have y'all seen that commercial? The from Boston.
From Boston.
Yeah.
Baston.
I just think of the movie Ted.
Yeah. The Ted's a good one for sure. Then of course the Heat, where Bill Burr, all that stuff. Okay.
Joe Burrow.
Did you ever get the name of the scout you snapped a photo of? I have no clue what he's talking about.
Did we take pictures of scouts when they didn't know?
Well, we did take a picture of that guy thinking that it was Busta Rhymes. Remember we were at Winslow's and we thought
did we take
that's when we probably knew, because I just found it the other day. That's when we, that and when you ordered a pizza and I got We ordered a pizza. You ordered a pizza. We're sitting at the bar. You ordered a pizza. These two girls came up and said, hey, we're really hungry. Can we have some? You go like, sure. And I turn around and all the pizza's fucking gone and I got zero of it. Zero pizza.
I ate like 8 pieces of
and
that
their boyfriends were there. And
Yeah.
I think they got pizza.
Yeah, maybe. I thought you were done.
Oh, I think he's talking about that old man that looks like bewildered at the
Oh,
bar.
man, I forgot about that
Yeah,
guy.
that's a great picture.
That is a great picture. We'll have to bring that
We'll
back.
have to, and
We'll
of
have to-
course, honk if you're nasty.
Honk if you're nasty.
There you go.
Easton eating the taco.
Yeah.
Did we get a photo of Doug Marone eating breakfast, or were we
Oh, maybe that's the picture Ed's talking about. Maybe he's going way back to brunch days.
the brunch days? Yeah.
The bald guy at the bar. I don't know what he's talking about. I mean,
He wasn't bald. He had the most beautiful,
yeah, so he's not talking about the
white
same guy
hair.
that we're talking about.
Mm.
But we
Yeah.
did see Terrell Williams, new defensive coordinator of the New England Patriots,
We
there.
saw Coach T. We
And
didn't talk to Coach T.
he wore the same outfit
Yeah.
every fucking day.
He did. Yeah, he did.
All navy
Mhm.
sweatpants, all navy sweatshirt with the Titans logo every fucking day.
So I can't remember if it was him or Mike Norvell, because I know like Mike Norvell walked into Wenzel's at one point too. But one of the coaches like looked at us as if, oh God, these guys know who I am. But we didn't bother him.
Yeah.
But there was a moment where it was like, oh man, these guys know who I am. We're like, no, we're here to chill. We're gonna let you have your dinner in peace, and we're just gonna walk out.
Yeah.
That's how we
So
operate.
that's how we roll.
We
All
act
right.
like we've been there before.
All right, the Borgonzi happened. We've all been Borgonzed by now.
Big Borgo, the bull.
Yeah, the Bull is his apparently real nickname, the Bull.
He was a fullback in high school. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This-
Well, you
this
know
is-
that he's a fullback and Chad's a running back, right?
No, I did not know.
No, or
that.
is he a linebacker? He may be a linebacker. Either way, they're cracking heads.
Do you
when it
think
comes
we
down to
can get some Mike Borgonzi fullback reps at training camp this summer?
We should see.
Who do we talk to about that?
I don't know. Maybe at the Senior Bowl, we'll talk to Mike Borgonzi about it.
How about that?
How about that?
How about
A little maybe?
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 I have to remind you to ask that.
Yes. Well, you'll be there. If it may be.
Well,
if this happens.
Well, if I'm not allowed to talk.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe.
Okay. All right.
All right.
We're off to a great start
Yeah.
tonight.
Okay. So I think the least surprising thing about this whole hiring process,
Yeah.
we're done with the firing process. The least surprising thing about this whole hiring process is that the first thing out of Chad Brinker's mouth on Ramon, Kayla, and Will on, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday was that the first thing he said about Mike Borgonzi, that he brought in a 260-page binder on how a GM attacks everything.
Nice.
I'm not surprised because Chad is a guy, like I'm calling him by first name. Chad. Chad is a guy that if you go back and listen to the OTP, talks about how Moneyball changed his life. So I'm not surprised that the nerd loves the nerd stuff.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I always thought that was the funniest thing. It's like, well, Mike brought in a 260-page binder.
It's like, damn, he was ready.
Yeah, graphs
ready for
and
this.
Excel and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
it's not hard to self-publish on Amazon.
It isn't.
We got to convince the Bull to release that on Amazon. So I want a copy of that. I want to read that too.
I think that would be giving away state secrets, so I'm not sure on that.
Well, he could have just had it ready for any GM job.
He probably did.
Or are you telling me he sat down in like a week and wrote out a 260-page manifesto?
And it could just have. And listen, it could have pictures in there, like
That's true.
full pictures of just like players that he likes.
It's like, this is how.
If I'm building the prototype,
it's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this. If I'm building a prototype, my offensive linemen have to have calves like these.
Yes,
and then he turns another page, not calves like this, or maybe it's an overlay. Here's John Ojukwu's legs, and he overlays. This is what we need with a trace paper.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're looking for.
I mean, listen, we're taking pot shots at John Ojukwu's legs. You give him enough gallons of milk, and he'll get there.
But they fed him a gallon of milk every day, and he never got there.
Feed him too.
Feed him. I think you die.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't want that.
If
happen.
you drink like a gallon of milk in like 30 minutes or try to attempt it, your body can't take it. And you just projectile vomit the milk back out.
I think we should do that on the show one night.
We used to do that on our fraternity.
Yeah.
We'd raise money, and then people would start dyeing the milk. And then so projectile green vomit, and some people did chocolate milk and red and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
We didn't raise a lot of money.
Just don't like milk that
Probably
much.
what's wrong with Joseph. Okay. So I thought that was the least surprising stuff. I guess I just really want to get into the Borgonzi.
Okay, let's do it.
Were you properly Borgonzed after the presser?
I felt pretty damn Borgonzed.
Yeah. I
felt like I was Borgonzed to the brim.
Do you think that's because we're finally talking football again?
I think that's part of it for sure. I also have to admit that I didn't really – I'm not saying I didn't think he was a serious candidate, but I really kind of thought he was going to take the Jets job from a lot of the rumblings that were out there. So I had kind of written it off as a possibility.
Right.
And then when he does take the job and we learn more about his responsibility, I'm warming up to it. I'm like, man, this dude is qualified. And then when he starts actually talking ball, scouting process, player acquisition cycle, all that stuff, I'm just like, yeah, we're here. I am full Borgonzed right now.
Well, and I think that's kind of important. I think there's two ways to look at it. As fans, I think you should have a little bit of hope that maybe they just fell ass backwards into a good GM candidate.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And I think that all the messaging has been pretty consistent right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think we do have a clear delineation of power and all this kind of stuff. So I think fans should be hopeful. I think as football nerds, like I like to classify us as, football junkies maybe.
Yeah.
I like Borgonzi. It's hard not to be, a Borgonzi guy.
Yeah.
A Borgizzi.
We got to think of a name for his cult now, too.
Yeah, Borgizis.
Yeah, Borgizis.
Borgizis and Borgalzis.
Okay, we might need to work.
Okay, we'll
that.
work on that. Maybe we'll let the chats figure out, the Borg hive and all that stuff. We got to do
hive.
better than that.
Yeah.
We got to be better than that.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the great and powerful Gons.
Yeah, we know it's a terrible one.
Stoney, what do you
please don't
think?
do that ever again.
It's just too much. It's
Too
just,
much?
It's a mouthful.
But that's
the only
also-
thing,
That's also not what you would call us, like Borgonzi heads.
You guys would be the people of Gons.
the people. Well, we could be on some
It could be like
the Gonzonians.
the Gonzonians.
How do you say
The Gon-
Munchkin Land, but
the
put Gons
Gonzos.
in there?
But regardless, I think that this is going to be at least a breath of fresh air from what we've had to cover probably about the last year and a half.
Yeah.
It's been drama filled. This seemed, and listen, the drama's not going to go away because Brian Callahan obviously is like got the hottest ass. That ass is on fire.
Can we clip that?
That ass is on fire as we speak. And so
He's got the hottest ass seat.
yeah, he's got a hottest ass seat. So we know that like drama's not there. And we know there's probably going to be drama surrounding the number 1 overall pick, right? I mean,
it sounds like it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I look at it and I go, man, Borgonzi to me is better than his introductory press conference is better than Carthon's, it's better than
Yeah.
Robinson's, better than Vrabel's, better than even Callahan's. So the Gonzaria.
Whoa.
That is what Zach Riley said on the YouTube chat, F&M Bank YouTube chat. Do I have to still give props to F&M Bank chat for this? Jackson, do you know?
Are they just getting free advertising?
I have no idea,
F&M Bank.
which is the answer to most questions you ask
There
me.
you go. So yeah, I'm with you. Like it's nice to move on to the football stuff, but I'm also going to be very much wait and see.
Yeah.
But what we have heard from him, I agree with. Like from a strict, and I don't think I would have always been this way, but from the last few years gaining more and more knowledge and insight and not, just trying to stay the same level of football intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you laughing at?
I can't get over you saying Brian Callahan has the hottest ass.
Well, yeah, I mean, that ass
And
is
then-
hot.
And then Zedine in the chat says, Zach, rank your top 5 hot asses. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. No, I'm there. We're good.
So I look at it and I go, we got to be in wait and see mode. Even though if I
Yeah.
agree
Mhm.
with philosophically where he's at in his free agency process, how they want to approach the draft process and all this kind of stuff, we still have to be careful not to go insane with, let Borgonzi barbecue or whatever you want to call it.
Super Bowl's
let
on.
Brinker tinker and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to say this. Well, Titans killed the word collaboration. Well, the new word they're killing is disciplined approach for sure. Because
Yeah.
it's discipline.
Do you think they lack discipline before?
That's
before
what
this?
they make it sound like, is that they're, not collecting talent.
Yeah,
Remember that?
That's another
That's tied into the discipline because,
one. Are they still hunting together, though?
well, so I think they did say hunting together at some point or working together or something like that. I think they said hunting together. So let's start there. The big thing I think that we both kind of took away from it is this disciplined approach is the fact that you kind of went back to what they said about Calvin Ridley. So explain to the people how disciplined approach, collecting talent plays into what they said about their strategy in acquiring.
Well, I just
Ridley.
thought when they started talking about collecting talent, being prudent, and they didn't say like not spending big money, but just being more selective in free agency. It kind of one of the memories that immediately came back to me was hearing Rand Carthon and company talk about the process for getting Calvin Ridley and how they had talked about at one point. I think there was an offensive tackle. Obviously, they didn't name that they were interested in that signed somewhere else. They talked about wanting to bring Danico Autry back, Aziz Al-Shire back, And when those deals didn't get done, those guys went to Houston. Then Rand was kind of like, oh, well, we just pivot. Now all of a sudden we have the conversation, hey, maybe we can get in on Calvin Ridley now. And so they pivot, they go, they get that deal done. Calvin Ridley's a Tennessee Titan. And at the time, I remember us kind of commending Rand Carthon for the flexibility, the adaptability, kind of going with the flow, so to speak. But hearing them talk about being more selective in free agency kind of took my mind back to that place and thought, I wonder if Chad Brinker and company felt like that was truly prudent to do. Like maybe they should have just let Calvin Ridley stay in Jacksonville. No, you can't get Danico Autry and Azeez Al-Shire, but for that money, maybe you could go get like 3 or 4 guys that kind of help rebuild the culture of the team, the foundation of it, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to feel that way, at least, right? I mean, with the way that they've described, you know, the new vision, the new processes, the new strategies, and again, it's not just them saying. Now, listen. Okay, we know we got to have a little bit of insight into this whole Brian Callahan sit down presser. A lot of the stuff that he said in the article, the first article that got released by Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports, shout out to Easton for
great job, Easton.
Was a lot of the same stuff we heard from them. So there is some state mandated buzzwords, right, and phrases and stuff. Yeah. But disciplined is a lot of it. And I thought that was very interesting because at first when you hear disciplined, I was like, because they were kind of vague about it. And I was like, are they talking about the coaching?
Yeah.
And then they get into it and they say, no, our approach in free agency, our approach in the draft, our scouting, we have to be disciplined. So that makes me feel like that they're trying to describe Rand Carthon as Yosemite Sam or the Tasmanian Devil just running around, you know, going crazy.
It's like, oh, we can't get Danico Autry or Azeez Al-Shire. We got $90 million. Let's go get Calvin Ridley.
Right.
Kind of deal.
That's what it sounds like.
And I should, like someone in the chat brought it up. I do think Calvin Ridley was a good addition to this team. But from a team building perspective, I'm not saying that I necessarily disagree with the signing altogether. It just made me think from the way they're talking, were people in the building looking at it like this wasn't a very.
Well, I mean, who else are you gonna fucking get? Darnell Mooney? Like I had people. I think it was maybe if he's listening, maybe he can correct me. But I thought it was Daniel Frazier. You know, longtime listener, longtime fan. But he's talking about like, well, you know, you could have got Darnell Mooney and this guy. And I'm like, well, fucking I love Darnell Mooney, but I am not going after Darnell Mooney and having just DeAndre Hopkins and Darnell Mooney out there. That's not going to do anybody a lick of good.
Yeah. I don't remember who I wanted out of the receiver class. But
right, and because that's his name on the chat. Is like, who you got catching if not Ridley? And I mean, I guess you keep D-Hop at that point.
But
like D-Hop wasn't really doing much, and so you're trotting out D-Hop, NWI, and Calvin Ridley, or sorry, Traylon Burks. And that's just what you had last year. There's no improvement. And you know what would be happening? Everybody would be crushing the Titans and the regime for not going out and finding a wide receiver. So I do not blame. Again, good process, mediocre results. I mean, he got his 1,000 yards, but not what you really wanted. A lot of that plays on the defense. So, like, I don't. And on the chat he's like, I wanted Ridley. We wanted Ridley.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't think Ridley was actually on the table at the time, but I have no doubt. I mean, in fact, I wrote a whole article that said you would be paying this much wide receiver 2, and I was almost dead on the money.
Yeah.
But what you're getting is a high-end wide receiver 2, borderline wide receiver 1. Again, you still need more. They still need a wide receiver this year. They still need edge rushers. We've been saying those 2 positions need to be filled since 2009.
Oh my God!
I mean, we've been looking for that all along. So let's do this. Let's kind of go through the presser. I got some questions right here that I want to hit on, some audio, and so let's start off with Mike Borgonzi intro presser on how difficult it will be to reach Brinker's goal of 12 top 100 draft picks over the next 3 years.
It's certainly It's possible, yeah, to do that. Like I said, we just have to have discipline in the draft as we're going through the process. Draft picks are our biggest form of currency. So when there's opportunities to trade back to collect more picks, we're going to do that. So that's always the goal, to try to get as many picks in the top 100 as you can.
Okay, so let's talk about that and where that came from, because I think there's a lot of people are confused about this. Okay, so this is what he said when he was asked about if Mike Borgonzi's approach to quarterback unique compared to the who the fuck wrote this from Titans meeting to the other candidates as far as the number one. Okay, whatever. Either way, he just starts fucking going off, and king of word salad, Chad Brinker. Game respects game. I'm an A1 yapper. He's an A1 yapper.
Yeah.
But this is what he said, and I just know I mentioned this before. I mean, if I can map this out perfectly, I would love to have 30 picks over the next 3 years. 12 of those picks come from the top 100. That would be ideal. That's how you flip your roster. That's how you get youth on your roster. And then let's be selective in free agency, try to find some of the right veterans to balance this roster out and to be able to show these young guys how to be pros. That's from Chad Brinker.
Yeah.
So that is the I guess the goal, but that does not mean it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's what he's trying to tell you. He would love that to happen. Ideally, that would happen, but it's really hard to do. However, I was able to go back and I looked at the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Packers drafts. And I'm going to do more, but these are the ones I got. Out of those three, great drafting teams. I think we'd all agree. So
Sure.
Three of the best.
Sure.
The Packers were able, over the last three drafts, 13 top 100 picks, 35 picks total.
Damn.
The other two were 9-9 and 26 for the Ravens, 24 for the Chiefs overall. In that time frame, the Titans have had, over the last three drafts, the same number of top 100 picks as the Ravens and the Chiefs.
Oh, boy.
And they had 22 overall draft picks, just 2 less than the Chiefs, 4 less than the Ravens. So I say all that, and you're like, man, they had that many top 100 picks? Yeah, NPF, Malik Willis, Traylon Burks, Roger McCreary. There's 4 right there. Will Levis, Tajay Spears, Peter Skoronski, and then J.C. Latham and Tavondre Sweat.
Yeah.
But where's your game changers and all that?
Ooh, buddy. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Latham, big fan of Sweat. I like McCreary a lot too, and I like Skoronski. But we've had this conversation before. Like, I don't know that those guys at those positions can really be your foundational pieces. I made a joke at the end of the 2023 season. I'm like, well, don't worry, guys. At least they've got their left guard, nickel, corner, and
Backup running
back set for the future.
That's kind of what it looks like. And a lot of people say, well, the only way to make that happen, this is from Brinkerhead Snake, only way to make that happen is to trade down. No.
You have some assets.
So you have assets. You have Roger McCreary has 2 years left on his contract.
Oh, man.
Right? He's drafted
1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
So I was right earlier. I think I just got my math wrong. Math's not the strong suit at the station. It's infecting my brain. I used to be really great at math. Then I became employed at 105 The Zone, and apparently that just sucks the life out of you.
I think it's just the show that precedes you, bud.
Maybe. But you have I think Roger McCreary is a sneaky piece they can move on from.
I don't want him to.
I don't want him to, but because that does also go against the draft, develop, and retain.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, he is a guy that
I don't think trading Roger would be a disaster, Eddie. We got to calm down a little bit because you have Jarvis Brownlee Jr. who you could slide in over there.
But I think, like, you've got a pretty good thing going in the secondary right now. Like, I don't know.
He's eligible for extension. So do you get the extension done? Or do you let it play out and let him hit free agency, get a comp pick? Because at some point, we have to look at it from their perspective, right? They want more picks, top 100, and he would net you a top 100 pick. I would be shocked if he did.
Yeah, I think he absolutely would. And, you're right. You do technically have the in-house replacement.
Right. And you still could do Daryl Baker Jr. to cover the outside.
I think he did a commendable job in 2024. Like, there's a conversation to be had. I think this is just me saying I really like Roger McCreary.
And I do too. I mean, I really do. But I think Brinkerhead Snake puts it around, and Brownlee kind of makes Roger expendable.
Yeah.
And Roger's your third most valuable asset. Well, Amani Hooker too.
I think Amani Hooker's in the conversation.
Yeah.
As well.
So to me, I look at Big Jeff, Harold Landry, Amani Hooker, Roger McCreary are guys that could find themselves, if the price is right, somewhere else. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying trade them for a bag of beans. We're talking guys that could net you top 100 picks.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one way. The other way is you don't have to necessarily trade out of the first to get the top 100 picks. You have pick 35.
Yeah.
You can trade back in the second and pick you up one or two extra picks in the draft. I mean, it's possible.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you could pick up an extra second or third, maybe even in next year's draft. Remember, the Rams traded 2 seconds to move up to get Braden Fisk.
Yeah.
So why couldn't that happen in a situation for you?
And there's going to be some edge rushers, maybe some defensive tackles.
Yeah.
In that like sweet spot, 30 to 40 range, where you're getting one of the cream of the crop guys in this draft class, because I think those two positions are really strong in this upcoming draft. So like you get to like that 30 to 40 range, and I know the Titans would like a Mike Green type, but if he falls to that range and somebody just is like an edge rusher away, they absolutely could trade up to get a guy like that.
Well, and for the people who are like, veterans, listen, just because Big Jeff's loud doesn't mean he's a good leader.
That's fair.
And I get it, but this is something that we'll be talking about here in just a second. They're not going to be the only veterans on this team anymore after this, and there'll probably be better veterans and better leaders on this team that will, and maybe not the talent level, but they'll fill that leadership void, whereas then you can take those positions like Harold Landry. He's nothing to write home about. I know people try to put him in the same conversation as J.J. Watt. But
I've conceded that his best football is probably behind him.
And it probably is. And really, if you can get a first and another top 100 pick for Big Jeff, aren't you taking it? Are you going to turn down a first if you just for straight up?
No, I don't think I would turn it down.
I mean, you don't have to send anything back. You just they get Big Jeff and you get 2 picks.
I would take it.
Right.
I would take it.
And you know
if it's
what?
a first, yes.
This defensive tackle class is one of the few really deep and really good class position groups.
Yeah.
Just
and
saying.
You still already have Tavondre Sweat.
And you could bring back Sebastian Joseph Day if you want.
I like Sebastian Joseph Day. Yeah.
So, to me, you can get those picks in multiple ways. Just remember, you don't have to get to all those picks this year. They have 8 overall, 8 top 100 picks.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a couple of years to get picks. So it's not.
Wait, they don't have 8 top 100 picks, do they?
Yeah.
They do?
Over the next 3 years.
Oh, 3 years.
Remember, this is a 3-year thing.
Gotcha.
So that's why we don't have to do it all in 1 year.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait, what?
Yeah.
8 top 100 picks. Damn, he's only got to get 4 more to get to his vision.
Let's go to. Well, since we're talking a little bit about free agency, no, let's do this. Let's do Mike Borgonzi intro presser on his number 8, his scouting process and how he can find quote unquote the right guys.
Yeah, so I briefly touched on big picture, what you want the team to look like: big, physical, and trenches, fast and violent. So we've had a very collaborative group in Kansas City. We're in constant communication with our coaches, and that's one of the things that when I just got here now, but I talked with Brian is, I want to meet with every coach on the staff. I want to meet with Brian. I want to see what the formula is for that player. We're never going to waver on the character part, of course, but in terms of the scheme, we want a profile of what we're looking for that player. So, I'm looking forward to doing that with Brian and his staff, but that's something we did with Coach Reed and his staff.
Talk about big, physical, fast, violent. I imagine that's what everybody's probably looking for this time of year. Just what gives you the confidence that you can separate that and find the people you're looking for rather than just go for what's big?
Yeah, you have to be very thorough in the process and define exactly what you're looking for. So if you want a big, tough offensive line, then those are the guys you take, and you got to go out and find them. Whether that's free agency, trades, draft, waiver claims. You have to search under every rock. And if you want to have fast players, look for fast players and identifying those. And like I said, it's not just collecting talent though. It has to be the right fit with the talent and the character piece.
He's real big on character and leadership.
Leadership, yeah.
I don't know if anybody else picked up on that, but he said the number one trait in a quarterback, leadership.
Yeah.
Then he speaks of it, the character there, and we're going to get into his free agency stuff. But, they still got to build out their prototype of what they're looking for. So what I mean by that is every position will have a prototype of what they're looking for, not only from a veteran standpoint, but, height, weight, all that kind of stuff, but also the non-negotiables, even in the draft and everything. So they're really doing that. And listen, he does emphasize, to me, building in the trenches, like Cole has said in the chat, which means that maybe Jeffrey Simmons does not get traded. Listen, I'm not saying that he for sure is. I'm just saying that if you're there are other avenues besides the first overall pick to get him. And Ed Henry does bring up a good point. He goes, character? Tyreek Hill? Rashee Rice? Kareem Hunt? Really? So, does have a little bit of a point there.
Well, leadership is one thing off the field, and it's a totally different thing on the field, maybe. I don't know.
And listen, Robert Walsh brings up a good point. Ed Henry, I think their player leadership was so good it allowed them to add those players at a lower risk.
Yeah.
Well, good point. Good point by Bert.
We got some good discussion going on.
We do have some good discussions
in the yet-to-be-sponsored chat tonight.
Yeah. I guess I got to say it, F&M Bank chat. But I think that, we're diving deep. Me and you have been talking a lot and been diving deep into the scouting process. I sent you a couple articles about Bill Parcells.
Yeah.
We both bought books.
Got some books on the way
that are.
Have you started it?
I haven't started. I kind of flipped through. I went to chapter 5 or something, but it's called The Packer Way, written in 1998, 1996. You can't get it in an audio book. You can't get it into digital. You have to buy it used.
Yep.
That's how old this book is. But it's written by Ron Wolf, who has been brought up by Chad Brinker, who's been brought up by Mike Borgonzi. So I bought the book. So, we want to figure this out. And, it's about finding this baseline with the coaching staff and then operating as a unit to find the players and not to waver from it. You can have exceptions, like maybe Tyreek Hill is an exception, but they have to be, to have an exception, they have to be exceptional.
Yeah.
That's how it's got to be viewed. So what did you take away from the process and involving the coaches and all that? Because we kind of heard that last year too.
Man, I don't know. It's still just day one stuff. And it all sounds like sunshine and rainbows. But I think my thing was, okay, what can you start on right now working with the coaches? You can evaluate the current roster. And so immediately in my head, I start going through. And
cutting people.
Well, yeah.
NPF,
but,
out.
Yeah. And looking at the leadership traits, which, I know they put the captaincy on Kenneth Murray's jersey, but was he?
So what was the Kenneth Murray? Because JT Runk. Is that his last name?
Runke.
Runke? Okay, whatever. It's a stupid spelled last name. Put a Y on the end or an IE if you want to be called Runke.
Somebody we talk to literally 18 times a day.
I think it's more than that, but we're just texting.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
But JT Runke, supposedly.
Yeah.
Had brought up something about Kenneth Murray. Did I miss the Kenneth Murray jab from Borgonzi?
No, I don't think it was a jab that Borgonzi made at Kenneth Murray. I think JT took something that Mike Borgonzi said and was like, oh, that's Kenneth Murray.
Okay, so there wasn't a complete Borgonzing of Kenneth Murray, just like
Kenneth Murray did not get Borgonzi directly.
A subliminal Borgonzi?
Yeah, maybe. but the way he described it did not describe Kenneth Murray.
Okay, so you don't think he was talking about Kenneth Murray?
I don't think so. I think he was just
Okay.
talking in general.
Now we've gone off track, but
I think now, like, to get back to your point about like the where we're at with the big bull and the coaching staff getting together and trying to figure out, okay, is Kenneth Murray one of those players? Because it identifies a need. Because if he's
do we
not,
think that was a scattershot move?
I didn't like the move to begin with.
Right.
But
It didn't turn out as terrible as I thought it was.
It didn't. And I give a lot of credit to Denard Wilson for that, because he seemed to really like plug in, dial in on how to use him the most effectively. But like, I just don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head if like the leadership traits were ever part of the Kenneth Murray evaluation, you know?
I would be hard pressed to figure out
Because
though,
like we've
right?
heard, he's kind of a quiet guy, right?
Right. But I
So-
mean, he was mentioned as a little bit of a leader. Wasn't he at some point this year?
Yeah.
Or am I just, is
Well,
that a
that's what
fever dream?
no, they put the captaincy on his chest too.
Yeah.
So I think,
and that's voted on by the players.
yeah. So I think that's where the process is at right now, is like figuring out who. You mentioned NPF too.
Yeah, will
you
they
know-
actually tell someone the truth about NPF? Or they could do what they did last year?
don't know.
Oh, that's,
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like, or they could do something like they did last year and be like, well, you know, NPF is there.
Yeah.
Well, let's get NPF and Leroy Watson and Jalen Duncan and John Ajuku and just,
Yeah.
you know, there you go.
Our milk budget's gonna go up. We gotta give 61 like 5 gallons of milk.
We're just
a day
got to
to
give
get up
him.
there.
We're gonna have to that cow that Kate Otten pushed around. We're gonna have to. Was it Kate Otten?
I think so. Yeah.
No, this is the Ohio State guy from last year. Not Kate Otten.
Kate Stover.
Kate Stover.
Kate Stover.
We're gonna have to get him that cow. Kate
Yeah.
Stover kept flipping.
But I don't think there were any. To answer your question, I don't think there were any real revelatory statements made. But I think at this point in the roster construction, the without the player acquisition cycle starting,
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like, okay, well, who on the active roster fits what he was describing?
Well, and how about this? Who on the active roster that has an expiring contract
Yeah, well,
Fits
Dylan
what he was.
Radens is another name,
that does not fit what he's looking for, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like,
but
I mean, 'cause
he
if-
improved. So
but then he came back down to earth where
was that
you
the
know,
injury? Like, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, these are the conversations that
well,
you kind of
but
rope
then you
in
also got
Bill
like,
Callahan
okay,
for, and
would you rather have
Trey Smith.
well, that's what I'm saying. Would you rather have Dylan Radens at like what would Dylan Radens probably be worth, like 7 mil, 8 mil, something like
Somewhere
that?
in there, yeah.
And per year, and
Mhm.
then you look at Trey Smith and he's worth 20 mil. Yeah, I think I would still rather have Trey Smith.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
here's something that I think is telling about this whole thing, and we'll get into free agency and the draft more. Is that last year? Remember one of our big things, especially during when Jaquan Jackson got drafted,
Yeah.
and then we saw Leroy Watson and Jerron Christian join. Was like, man, and we heard that Bill Callahan was a big proponent of the J.C. Latham signing. Man, they really leaned on their coaches for all of this. I don't think that's going to be the case right now. That does not mean I do not think that they're going to ignore, not involve, or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
just that I think final say is going to be final say. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm overseeing the roster. I'm overseeing the draft. Thanks for your input.
We're not
Enjoy
gonna,
the show.
We're not. We're
Enjoy
not,
the Electric Factory.
yeah, we're not going to have Tyjae Spears sitting in the war room like, please draft my teammate.
Yeah. And Tyke Tolbert, trying to tell me that Jaquan Jackson's good. That,
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I kind of feel like last year
It could
kind of
be.
went down. And
It
listen, it
could
was a
be.
good
Yeah.
draft class besides Jaquan Jackson. But so back to the original point was like NWI, Sebastian Joseph Day, those seem like dudes that they should
They
be
should.
bringing back.
They should. Yeah.
So those are guys that, and listen, I don't know, man. Tomorrow is going to be really good. You guys are going to enjoy. I don't want to give anything away about Easton's, final tomorrow, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, but he asked him about NWI. He asked him about NPF. Point blank, he asks, dude, why did you start Traylon Burks for so long over
Mhm.
NWI? And so I'm not going to give you
Yeah.
the answer, but you're going to hear from Brian Callahan's thought process, and you guys be the judge. But That's why I think.
I'm glad you said that
Yeah.
because I was about to
Yeah.
start.
But I do think that NWI
Yeah.
is a guy that
He
now
fits the mold.
Brian Callahan is like, this is a dude. And I think
He's a
Chad
dude.
Brinker would obviously feel like this is a dude. This is a guy you bring back.
Yeah.
And you bring back the guy that works hard, right? Oh, shit. We don't have Mike Borgonzi stuff from this morning, but he mentioned something like the love of football, right?
Yeah.
You got to love football. You got to put in the hard work. Oh, man, hold on. I think I got it.
I might could play for Mike Borgonzi. I don't know. I
I
sit
don't
down a
think you
lot,
can.
and my hips have gotten kind of stiff.
He's looking for competitive. This is how he wants to identify this is what he was asked by Will Bowling, if I'm not mistaken. He says, how do you define Titans players?
Yeah.
Like when you go out on the circuit or we're looking at draft prospects or we're looking at free agents and we are going to say, man, that is totally a Titans player. Because
Yeah.
that's how we thought about Jarvis Brownlee Jr. We're like, dude, that's a Denard Wilson guy.
It is. Yeah.
But he's saying, how are we as fans and viewers going to be able to recognize, man, that guy is definitely going to be on the Titans' radar? He said, competitive, tough, dependable, love of the game. But he said, someone that empties the tank all year long.
How about that? I love it.
I love that. Emptying the tank out all year long. I mean, gives his heart out every time, will do whatever's asked for him. That's NWI. So that's where I'm at right
It
there.
is. Just rip his chest open, leave his heart on the field.
Right.
Dedication.
Love it. Let's go on to number 11 here. Mike Borgonzi, an intro presser on his process of scouting and drafting when it comes to quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback position, you need to go in person and see that player, whether it's practice, all-star games. So that's going to be a very important part of it. And then just, sitting down, meeting with the player and have Coach Callahan, his staff, talk to him as well. As that's a big part of it. When we went through with Patrick, we identified him early. It was a rare skill set that you could see. And we took it through the process in the spring, and we brought him in the building, met with him at the combine to really figure out his football intelligence, which was very high. And then we had a plan for him when we drafted him. We had Alex Smith at the time, and we were disciplined with that plan. There was a lot of temptations to play him, especially when you saw him in training camp, but we stuck to that plan. And that was part of the development of the quarterback. There was things that he needed to improve on, and we had a first-class person in Alex Smith that really took him under his wing and taught him that. So every quarterback's different in terms of the development and what they need, and that's the important part for us to figure out here in the spring.
So, yeah, I mean, it's, obviously he has Patrick Mahomes, and with the Chiefs, he probably hasn't been watching a lot of quarterback tape. So, really, they're on their way. If you guys are listening to this on Friday, they're on their way to the East-West Shrine Bowl. They may have left actually tonight, Thursday night. To get their hands on Shadur Sanders, Kyle McCord is there, Max Brosmer is there, Brady Cook. Am I missing anybody of note?
Yeah, there's the kid from, Montana?
I just said Max Brosmer.
That's Minnesota. He's Minnesota. I can't remember. There is another one, but
I feel like you're making that up. Okay, and then we have, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart,
Will Howard, Riley Leonard, Tyler
Show.
Shuff.
Then there's the kid from Canada that is just launching balls down the field.
I got to get
Holy
my hands
shit.
on some of that tape.
If you guys don't know the Canadian guy that we're talking about, go to Corey Kinnan, fake Corey Kinnan, CORYKINNAN on Twitter.
And
this dude is just launching balls. He got a hold of the Canadian quarterback, like all 22 or something. This guy's just launching them.
Seth Hennigan, too.
Yeah, Seth Hennigan. My boy, Seth Hennigan. How could I
This
forget?
year's Brock Purdy.
Yep. They have 8 quarterbacks going to be down there. But that's the thing is that, they're going to go down there and they're going to see, because he talked about this morning on RK Dub. A lot of RK Dub talk today.
On it.
So every quarterback is different. I can't remember who asked him about this, so I apologize to Ramon and the others. The basics of quarterbacking is what they're looking for. So, he's talking about the same thing he talked about there, going down the All-Star games, getting them interviews and all that kind of stuff. the basics of quarterbacking. The quarterback college system is not really translatable to the NFL, which is kind of what we've talked about. You got to know your protections, getting in and out of the huddle. A lot of quarterbacks have never been in a huddle, and you got to make sure that you think that you can show progress through the OTAs.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he talks about Mahomes had to show progress through the OTAs because they've never had to command a huddle. They've never had to break a huddle. They've never had to read coverages and defenses pre-snap, call out protections.
Yeah.
They've never had to do that. Well, you're going to get a firsthand view, up close of Shadur Sanders, Kyle McCord, Max Brosmer, this fake kid that you made up from Montana.
Oh, now I'm going to look it up.
Then you got Tyler Show, Seth Hennigan, Jackson Dart, Will Howard, a lot of guys that aren't Cam Ward. In fact, you're going to get everybody but Cam Ward pretty much that should be in the conversation of some form of fashion if you're interested in quarterbacks. And you're going to get that first-hand look. And this is going to be our first look at a guy like Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
How does he progress through his reads and the motions and all that kind of stuff? Because he is right. Everybody's right. He's never been asked to do that at the college level.
Well, yeah, and it's what makes Jackson Dart specifically such an intriguing prospect too, because you see flashes of the tools and stuff, but then you watch that Ole Miss offense, and I don't know that I watched him take a single snap under center.
Right.
And
it's
there's
kind of
a
like
lot
Matt
of
Corral, right? We really liked Matt Corral. But like Jackson Dart's way better than Matt Corral. But I look at it and I go, this is going to be what they're looking for.
Cam Miller,
That's
North Dakota
right.
State.
North Dakota State.
And Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne
That's
is going to
right.
be there from
Peyton
Auburn.
Thorne. So Curtis says, did Cam Ward not get invited? I've heard rumors that Cam Ward did get an invite, but he turned it down. Not a good thing.
I don't think it is either because, I don't think that Cam Ward is so polished that he can rest on his laurels and rest on his tape. I think scouts are going to have some questions, and he could have done himself some favors by showing – and it's also like the interview process, just like being around the game, being around these coaches all week long, getting to know them. That's how you figure out some of this leadership stuff. And I don't know. It kind of rubs me the wrong way that he didn't do either.
Did you say that you heard that Levis did the same thing?
Well, what we heard when we went down there,
that was a long time ago.
It was a lot of king cake seltzers ago. Was that Will Levis had been invited, and I don't remember if the rumor was that his agent or he said he wasn't going to go. Well, why would he say it? It had to have been his agent saying you can only hurt your stock by going, because then you're up here right now, and if people start seeing, oh, you've got some real warts, then you come down here. So let's wait, skip the All-Star circuit, and just get ready for your pro day, get ready for the combine, and buy you a little more time before you go out there and expose yourself. Basically.
And we don't know for sure that that's what's happening with Cam Ward. It's just that is something that I've heard from people that are connected with agents.
For somebody that I don't believe is like a made man, as like the clear-cut number one overall pick in this draft.
Maybe the NFL views it differently.
It could be.
Maybe we also got to understand that not sometimes, but here's my thing. Even if you got invited, what's the harm in coming down and doing a Hendon Hooker kind of deal? I'm down here and I'm doing the interviews and all that kind of stuff.
There's rumors circulating now that Shador's not going to do any physical stuff.
But he's still there.
He's still there. And the same with Jalen Milroe, which we've kind
with
of
rumors there too.
Speculated, why are they adding Seth Hennigan this late in the game? Why did they go get this guy from Canada with a cannon?
I wonder if he wrote his moose down. Okay, so let's go and take a little detour into free agency, because I think this is a really interesting one. Let's go to Mike Borgonzi's intro presser, number 12, clarification on how they will handle free agency.
Like I said, I think, we're going to be a draft and develop team, but we're certainly going to, have our hand in free agency at some points, but you have to be disciplined and smart with it. I think it's important to fill for role players, and guys that are good locker room guys. And when you have a young team, those are the type of guys you need. And like I talked about before, that's what we did in Kansas City when we weren't a very good football team. We brought in some tough veteran, smart guys that could really change the room. guys like Anthony Fasano and Mike DeVito. I think those are the things we're probably going to be looking at.
Mike, you mentioned.
I'll answer your question. I know you asked me as well. Big, fast, smart, tough football players who love winning more than anything else, right? But when it comes to building the roster, of course, we want to be big and tough in the trenches. You want speed on the outside. But the question you're asking about the smart and toughness part, that's when we get with the coaching staff. That's part of roster building. You figure out what positions are the ones that you can get away with a little bit less. And that's something, the conversation we will have with Brian Callahan, we'll have with Denard Wilson on the defensive side of the ball, where maybe if you can't find the complete package, like what are those positions where we can get away, or where we actually need someone who is just a smart, tough, gritty football player. But there's other positions that you have to have the speed, you have to have the explosiveness, you have to have the size and the length to affect the game that way.
Yeah. So here's when he's talking about the tough blue collar guys and all that kind of stuff. It's something that, did we talk about this on Monday or last week's? I think it must have been Monday when you were in for Blaine. This screams Washington Commanders.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was the first thing that popped in my head. I mean, like, here, you guys can look. I got my little notes. Blue for me, red for just, a little bit of notes here and there. And I'm like, oh, that's the Commanders way.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I got it. Let's do it. That's probably smart with how young this team is going to be.
Yep.
Not just now, is one of the third youngest team in terms of snaps played by age or something like that. The Packers routinely are probably right there since they've did their overhaul the last 3 years. So I look at it and go, this makes sense.
Yeah,
this is
for
smart.
sure.
And this is also what really probably the Tennessee Titans should have done last year. And maybe a couple of years ago too. They've always seemed to be just like, well, here's a few signings that make sense, but then here's some signings out of left field that just don't fucking just, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems right now, I'm not saying this is going to work. It's hard to duplicate. It's hard to have what the Commanders did, because we talked about the draft, we talked about their free agency, but what they did was also, it involved a lot of luck. Everybody hit. Everybody played. Everybody was contributors. Like, in a draft and a free agency, it's very reminiscent of the John Robinson first year as GM.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's hard to duplicate.
It is, absolutely. I mean, the guys have to be there. That's part of the equation. The guys have to be available. And I think Washington kind of, and they cleaned it up in several facets of the organization. I think getting an established culture guy like Dan Quinn in there, giving Cliff Kingsbury another shot. The draft class, I think, was awesome. But that's, to me, a part of their success that not enough people are talking about is how they supplemented the roster with guys that could come in and teach the younger players how to be pros.
Right.
That's something that has stuck with me throughout this week, is like, the comment, teach the younger guys how to be pros. That is leadership and filling a role on a team. So it's not sexy, but that is a sort of, that's like the bedrock of your organization right there.
So we're going back to the little Senior Bowl thing. We had how many projected top 10 picks actually go to the Senior Bowl, though?
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell was the highest graded guy there last year, and he went to the Eagles in the 20. I mean, I guess there's a little bit of leeway, I guess, within your question.
I think it's a fair question.
It's a fair question, but Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., both there.
Yeah.
And Michael Penix Jr. went 8 overall.
Yeah.
Now, again, here's the thing I'm going to, and I think this is a good point to take a little time out real quick. Dane Brugler does a fantastic job. Mel Kiper, yeah, he's all right. Matt Miller, he's all right. But they're guys that do great jobs. Their projections are typically always wrong.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. These guys that do this for a living, they build it based on their opinion, and they view it from their point of view, not through the lens of a particular NFL team. Every NFL team has already said, these guys have no clue what our big board looks like. Mm-hmm. So just because they're projected does not mean that's how the NFL views them.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure that we understand that.
And
And I get that it's very easy to use projected, rankings and stuff. But when you go through the Senior Bowl roster, here are some of the first round names there. Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Talisi Fuaga, Quinion Mitchell, Byron Murphy, Leatu Latu, Troy Fountainu. Didn't he go first round?
Mm-hmm.
I said Michael Penix Jr. Tyler Guyton went in the first round. Darius Robinson went in the first round. I believe, though, did Xavier Legette go in the first round to the Panthers? Did they trade back up?
Snuck in there.
So,
might have been the last pick.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, I mean, I look at these guys and I'm like,
Well, the point that I was going to make, like, we can't use the media as a barometer for what NFL teams actually think about these players.
Right.
You can't use mock drafts for, Cam Ward's number one in all the mock drafts. Well, the mock drafts don't have intel into teams' big boards either. And I agree that
Jordan Morgan,
like the guys like Abdul Carter,
Graham Barton, there's
Travis,
two more.
Travis Hunter, those caliber guys probably
Ricky Pearsall. Sorry.
probably not going.
I mean, a lot of Senior Bowl guys get drafted in the first round.
The elite of the elite of the elite probably skip the All-Star cycle.
And that's like Travis Hunter, the elite
Travis
of the
Hunter,
elite.
Abdul Carter, Mason Graham hasn't committed to go anywhere. Don't believe Malachi Starks is going anywhere. Ashton Genty hasn't said, like, we're at the nitty-gritty, and some of these guys that are at the top of their class aren't signed up for the All-Star games. My point is, I don't think Cam Ward is one of those guys.
Right.
I
Just
think
because
Cam
you're
Ward,
projected to be quarterback one in every mock draft or whatever does not mean that you have that secure of a job.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not asking him.
Especially because Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward have so many questions about various parts of their game.
Yeah, which is probably why Shedeur Sanders is going to the East-West Shrine Bowl.
And not throwing.
Yeah. But like,
maybe he throws, but
I do kind of think where Cam Ward is at in his development. It's not enough to say, you know what, body of work's done, call it a career, enter the NFL draft. I think he probably should have gone to one of these games and talked to the teams.
Jackson, where are we at on time? How long have we been yapping?
54 minutes of Yap Fest
that's not
podcasting.
I feel like we've been here for 2 hours, so that's good.
Okay, so we're going to skip that one. Okay, we're good on the presser stuff. So, I mean, at the end of the day, nothing revolutionary was said. But what is interesting, if you go to PK.com, I don't know if you've had time today to read, because I know you're getting stuff ready for Senior Bowl. He's asked a few people, talked about a few things, and got a few informations about the new scouting grading system.
I tried to open the article. It tells me I don't have a current membership.
Man, you got paid.
I pay the man every month.
Okay, so
pay the man every month.
He goes on to say in there that these scouts will conform to him. And that is something that we have talked about, conform to this new system. This is going to be totally different than what they've done.
Yeah.
The scale, the numbers, the terminology could be totally different than what they're used to. That is so smart. Even if some of these guys aren't going to be around, it's really good experience for them regardless, even if they're not going to be around. For they now will be able to speak multiple languages. Because scouting and being able to talk about somebody. So, like, Bill Parcells in this article that I read on the 33rd team, they would throw out letters to each other. Now, those letters then corresponded to a level and a number, but being able to throw out, so you had to know what that letter was, what numbers corresponded to it, and then what the definition of what that letter means. Like, what is this kind of player? That is very valuable to be able to speak all of that. So here, it was a little bit more of a college grading system that's been around for a while now. Now they're going to get professional experience if you
get with the big boys, get with the big leagues.
Yeah. So I think that's super important, and I think it's super important that they're all able to speak the same language, and I think it's important that Borgonzi and Brinker are, and I believe that Callahan, I think from what he came from, because I think they said something about Tobin during this, Papa Tobin, not Duke Tobin, currently the general manager, quote-unquote, player personnel, whatever, of the Bengals. So it's something that probably he himself, Callahan, is probably familiar with as well. So to me, overhauling the scouting process is very much needed, and probably overhauling the scouting staff as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's an opportunity to kind of, I don't want to say modernize, but like upgrade and get everybody on the same page. Like there's been so much of the last couple of weeks that have just felt like, all right, let's stop, keep this from going any further, rip the Band-Aid off. We're going to start new. We're going to start on the same page. And at least from the sound of it, like you said, like probably the right move.
It needed to be done.
Needed to be done.
When you still have the same holdovers of people that allowed Isaiah Wilson to be drafted,
Yeah.
I think you just kind of open yourself up to a lot of chances to be wrong.
Are there still John Robinson scouts in the
Yes.
building? Dang,
They didn't
man.
fire anybody. I don't know if they fired anybody from during Rand Carthon's era. I know
It
they
seems-
promoted some people and hired some new people. Now, some other people may took jobs elsewhere, but I don't remember any firings being announced. I could be misremembering,
It's pretty wild.
but largely this is still the staffing, group that John Robinson built. And there's even a rumor going around that Mike Vrabel had a shadow staff, a shadow scouting
that.
staff, which I thought is really weird as well. Like it fucking dysfunction. Like there is just
Yeah.
no way around it. This was dysfunctional. My hope is, for better or for worse, no matter how we got here, that the Tennessee Titans become a serious football team. That is my hope. And a team that is serious about the scouting process, because, going through these list of candidates they had this go around was a much different feel than the candidates that we went through when Rand Carthon got hired. And I'm not saying that Rand Carthon or Ian Cunningham, who's also in this one, aren't ball guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're not football knowers or anything like that. But this group just had a totally different resume feel to it,
Yeah.
and purpose to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that does provide me a little bit of hope that, like, man, they may have gotten this thing right and somehow convinced a football guy to come in and do football things.
Well, I mean, I think it was Nashville. I think Borgonzi sounds like a big Nashville guy. He's mentioned it, I think, every show that he's been on.
Well, he
in
did
his
say
press
if he has
conference.
to uproot his family, which they've lived in Kentucky, Kansas City. They've lived in Kansas City for 16 years.
Yeah.
If I'm going to uproot him, I got to uproot him to a place I really love and I know that they'll love.
Is we going to see him drinking down on Broadway one night?
Maybe we will.
Yeah.
He's drinking some Sam Adams.
Yeah, dude, I
Eating
love
some
me
There's some going at the Cousin's Main food truck somewhere down there.
Man.
Hey, sponsor us, Cousin's Main's lobster truck,
Or Sam Adams.
or Sam Adams.
I
Come
don't know
on.
why I'm looking at Jackson. Like,
Yeah,
get
come on,
that done,
Jackson, get that done.
Get Sam Adams on the line.
I will call him from beyond the grave.
Okay, so anything else that we didn't hit on that you feel like we need to hit on?
Well, I listened to Cover 2 today, and I did not realize we are
Great show.
blaming Chad Brinker for the A.J. Brown trade.
Oh, yes, that call that came in.
Oh, what about the call at the end of the show, Stoney? Did you hear that one with the guy's name?
I might have had to mute it because I did have to jump on a meeting at the day job at some point.
Well, what did I say when I was going to break and saying, "Oh, we'll get to Dick" or something like that?
We'll get to Dick next.
We'll get to Dick next. Yeah,
That's good.
I was like, "Oh crap!" Well, that's his name. His name was Dick.
Yeah.
But he was appropriately enough. He was talking about filling holes, roster holes.
Hey, you got to do it.
You got to do it.
We
but
can talk
yeah.
Oscar noms.
No, because I don't know any. So I look at this whole situation,
Yeah.
and I'm optimistic that at least these guys know ball.
Yeah.
Now, does that turn into results? And that's where it's going to have to fall onto Brian Callahan, because the way that they describe it, like I said, Callahan's going to, and his staff will give them their prototype, will give them what they're looking for, what they think they need. The coaching staff will say, okay, here, or the scouting staff here we go. Here's what we got, and here's who we're choosing.
Mm-hmm.
So in doing that, I remember Borgonzi saying something on. Let's see. Here we go. So he says there's going to be a consensus and synergy with the staff.
Hadn't heard that word in a while.
Synergy. And
It's coming
very
back.
they're going to have a very thorough and open communication between everybody. And they're going to make the best decision for the Titans. If you're Brian Callahan and you feel that the best decision for you is Shedeur Sanders, but they feel the best decision for them is Cam Ward, how's that going to go?
You better figure out how to fit
Better
Cam Ward into
fucking
this
figure
fucking
it out.
offense. Yeah.
Because if you don't figure it out, you know what? Cam Ward is probably more and more going to be what the quarterbacks are trending towards right now for the next few years at least.
Because of the college game.
Because of the college game.
we've
So if you
talked
can't
about
figure
that.
it out with Will Levis and then you can't figure it out with Cam Ward,
Oh boy.
that's a black mark on your resume. I mean, you
Yeah.
just can't get away from that. And there goes all that kind of, offensive, head coaching and all this kind of stuff. All, all the words that got kind of get slapped on people and labeled. But now you're never going to be that guy. You're probably always going to be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
It does.
But they're not going to give him bad players.
no.
They're going to give him good players, and he's going to have to figure out how to make it work. And good head coaches, good offensive coordinators, good defensive coordinators can do that. We've seen many times in the Tennessee Titans history of coaches not being able to do that.
Yeah.
So Brian Callahan has to prove that he can be the guy that can do that.
So your gut feeling as we sit here on the eve of Senior Bowl week, this whole crazy cycle is about to start again. How quickly do you think Brian Callahan could turn it around? And what would he need to do so?
Well, I mean, if you really want to, because I just don't believe in Amy, who of course didn't even show up
Mhm.
for this whole thing. Fucking just can't do the basic things right.
Yeah.
Like this team cannot do the simplest things right without making me angry.
Well, you know what? If the media would be nicer to her, then maybe she'd do it. Like
All she has to do is just sit there in a fucking chair.
A to Z posting
Someone
that,
give
that,
her a little toy horse to comb the hair on or something. I don't know. Keep her fucking busy.
A
Give her
to
some
Z
stickers.
posting that picture of her in their video, or just not a flattering photo. She's like, why am I going to sit and talk to these people? They make me look like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, A to Z's got to get their shit together in the media department over there,
But I, you know what, man?
Those graphics are out of control. Like, there's so much going on in their show graphics. It drives me nuts.
I think I don't want to start pumping sunshine, but
But what do you think he has to do? Because I sat here a few weeks ago and I think he's going to have to make the playoffs. And I'm not, and I don't think I'm as sour as in that regard from the perspective of Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi's view of Brian Callahan.
yeah,
But I do think someone goes my bad. But I do think that you can't trust Amy. Like Amy's, and so like this would be the sign of she says she's given authority to Chad Brinker to make football decisions. Okay. He is the football mouthpiece of Amy Armstrong. If she had one hand was business, that'd be Burke Nihill. If the other hand was football, that would be Chad Brinker.
yeah.
If that's the case, that's the case. But we also heard that Chad Brinker didn't really want Brian Callahan. Don't know. I mean, TD kind of talked about that too. He kind of alluded to it. Didn't come right out and say it. So he probably didn't have enough sources to vouch for it, but he kind of danced around it. So I kind of look at it and I go, all right, like if that's the case, she did say, well, you have to keep Brian Callahan, and it doesn't work. And so to her liking and to Chad's liking, what's going to happen? Like it seems like a really tough road.
It's well, you know, he does have the hottest ass, so
He has one hot ass. Ass is spicy.
I do think
That's what we should start calling it. How hot is the ass based on the Scoville scale? So right now he's ghost pepper.
Ghost pepper. What's above ghost pepper?
A scorpion is that above ghost pepper?
Where's the Carolina Reaper?
Oh, maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
I
We'll
think
have to get
Scorpion's
the
a poison level.
Oh, there you go.
How
That
poisonous
ass is poisoned.
is Brian
As a one
Callahan's ass?
poison ass.
Yeah. I say all that to say that
I'm gonna get one printed out. Can we get that in the show budget? Get a
Yeah.
cardboard thing. We'll just pull it out and we'll point to
The Scoville scale
The
or
Scoville
his
scale.
ass?
his ass. The Scoville scale. We'll point to.
Yeah. I say all that to say we've talked about it on Football and Other F Words before. How many games this past season were the Titans just truly just completely lost, never in?
Like 4.
I can't.
I tried to push most of this this fucking year out of my head, but I'll look it up while you're talking.
I don't count that last Texans game. I mean, I don't.
Oh yeah, well they were purposely tanking that game.
I don't think you can count that game, but I really look at the Packers game and the Commanders game as the two that I really felt like they were never going to win that game. Like you could play it 10 times.
Okay, so
they're
the
losing
Packers
10
game.
times. Yeah.
Okay, the Bills game.
But they were in that game.
But then
They were in that game.
So you think that a different quarterback or maybe a right tackle could have got them the win?
I'm not saying would have gotten them
What about
the
the
win.
Detroit Lions?
They were in that game too.
Dude, it was 52-14. We're not doing that. I'm not
They
like
were
I'm not,
in that game. What was
like-
the score at halftime?
Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up. 52-14. Come on, bro. It was 35-14 at halftime.
What was it in the first quarter?
7-14. Okay, you got 15 minutes of good football.
Yes, the first quarter. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there are moments there.
If you just take away the last 3 quarters, that was a close fucking game.
I didn't say was it a close game. I said how many games were they never in it at all?
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay.
And-
I get what your point, but I think we're splitting hairs.
My point
Yeah.
is it's to me it's too I don't think it's fair to the perception of this team to just say, well, they're 3-14, the worst team in the league. Like there were moments when this worked. And so if you get the pieces, I don't think this is going
big
to
roster
be
overhaul. They're saying it's a flip.
but I don't think that from a leadership perspective,
Yeah.
from coaching perspective, I don't think it's as big of a flip as everybody else. Like the narrative
Okay.
right now is
so
that
what do you think is the win threshold? Because Ricky W., which I'm very surprised, he's usually, I feel like, pretty negative. And, but I mean, he says 7 to 8 wins, Callahan's safe. Do you think 7 is enough?
I think so.
You
I
think
think so. But I think he's capable of more.
Okay.
Like I look at the
I
coaching
get what you're
job.
saying there.
I look at the coaching job as far as like guys being ready and guys playing hard and finding things that work. And I think the coaching staff did a better job than people give them credit for. I think the bottom fell out. I don't know how mentally strong the team was. Like when things started to snowball, it seemed like that was it. Like in that Detroit game, like once Detroit got going, there was no stopping them. And I think that happened several times throughout the season.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
The glimpses were there that I think you can glean that these coaches are better than people are giving them credit for. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
And I don't think
I get what you're saying, but let me ask you a question. How many wins does he get with Cam Ward? How many wins does he get with Shedeur Sanders? And how many wins does he get with vet quarterback? Like, isn't that kind of where – and because I think Andrew King, I think he said it twice, but he's like, it depends on who the quarterback is.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
like, that's the thing is that he's already starting – like, do you think that there's such low expectations that maybe it will be easier for him in a 7-win season or an 8-win season for him to kind of like say, guys, I'm a team player. We're in the right direction. The vision, we're all going the same way.
Yeah.
We got this. Is that kind of what you're feeling?
Yeah.
I mean, I can get on board with that, but I just don't know if I can trust Amy Hampshire. But here, JD brings up a good
Hold
point.
on.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's how I can say it.
Okay.
I think 7 or 8 wins, he's safe. And I don't think it's so implausible to think that they can get to that.
Oh, and I agree with that part. I agree that
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I don't think that this season's all doom and gloom that everybody will probably make it out to be.
I mean, people were saying like, "Oh, this was the worst Titans team ever."
No,
like,
I don't think it was the worst Titans team
like
ever.
the Ken Wisenhunt Titans
Oh,
don't
my God.
exist. I mean,
yeah, and people are like, "Oh, look at these stats are so similar." Well, were you at the fucking game?
yeah,
Like, give me a
they could
break.
not stop anybody. They were giving up like 30, 40-yard plays every few plays.
I mean,
It was
Zach Mettenberger just got like
disgusting.
fucking killed.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
I mean, we had a guy like we can all talk about the memes of Will Levis, but Mettenberger ate his boogers. he did. He ate his boogers right there on live TV. Like picked it, ate it. Like, I mean, that's worse. That is a worse season. I am
Yeah.
sorry. That is a worse season. Let me do this. John Fossil has been hired, and now he's bringing in Rain Stewart, I believe is how you pronounce his name, a former Tennessee Titan, as a special teams assistant coordinator. What do they do with Colt Anderson? Like, what's Colt's role there?
They I don't know if I can say that.
No,
on
I
the
wouldn't.
air.
I know where you were going. Don't say it, 'cause I almost said it.
JT
Yeah.
made a great joke.
JT Runk.
JT
No, we'll save that for maybe a Drinking with the Scouts episode.
yeah.
Stackinginbox.com if you want to hear those episodes.
They got him in a spot. He's in a spot.
Yeah, he's in a
ain't
certain
good.
chair, and it's
Yeah.
not good.
They got him in hotels.
Yeah. I look at it this
Oh
way.
no!
He had to go one step further. I just
Didn't say
don't
it,
get it.
though.
Like, why can't they do anything so simple? It's just simple.
I mean,
like,
listen, maybe they
is
just
he going to coach safeties? Is he going to
Can
be the
they-
assistant to the assistant special teams
Maybe.
coordinator? Like, what's he going to
Maybe.
be?
Maybe
they have
they-
two assistant special teams coordinators. Like, why? Do we need to?
he's part of the draft and develop philosophy. They
They're
want to
trying
keep
to
him.
develop him.
They're going to develop him, and he's going to be the special teams coordinator again one day,
Okay.
or the head coach when they fire Brian Callahan.
And to be fair, I said I don't think that Colt Anderson's going to be fired, and he has yet to be fired. So just
Yeah.
wanna say.
Yeah.
Never said he would keep his job title.
Yeah,
Technically,
just said they
it
weren't
was
going to
implied.
fire him. Yeah,
It was implied. I just said they wouldn't fire him. But that's another thing that you could probably throw in there is that with John Fossil, your special teams isn't going to be a mitigated disaster and possibly keep maybe the Detroit Lions game, to your point,
yeah,
becomes closer.
yeah. I didn't say that was a
You
game
thought
they were.
you said that they were going to win it.
I
They were in it to the very end.
I never said they were ever going to win that game. I just said they were in it. They were in it, and they really, from a roster standpoint, had no business ever really being in it.
Do you think that
You never got your hopes up at least once watching that game, like, oh man, they're showing up today. Things are clicking.
No.
Never, not once.
I guess the Detroit Lions, no. At that point in the season, they had drained all hope from me
Yeah.
that this was going to be a competitive game.
What was the final on that? Because
52-14.
yeah, so I had a bet that day. The spread was like 37.5 or whatever.
The
Or an
over-under.
alternate spread.
Yeah.
Alternate
Yeah.
spread. I took a bet Lions 37.5 and I cashed that.
There you
bet.
go.
That was,
You got
that was my biggest win of
So
the season.
you didn't have faith either.
But I knew they were in it for that
They were
first
in it
quarter.
For that first quarter. They had you sweating your ticket. Do you think the division matters? The place in the division? JD says, I think Cali has to finish second or better in the division.
Maybe don't finish last in the division again.
Yeah.
I mean, and that seems attainable
Yeah.
because I think they could finish ahead of the Jags. I think they could finish ahead of the Colts. I think they could finish second in the
They
division.
could.
Yeah.
I think playing competitive football and kind of being in that wild card race in the second, or I guess in the, coming out of Thanksgiving, you're still in the race for the playoffs. I think that's how you would probably view that as a trend in the right direction, a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Success is going in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. That's how I feel. All right, that'll do it for us. And remember, Senior Bowl coverage will be every day, 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, and then right after, or a little bit after the game on Saturday as well. So you're going to get 6 shows from us. If you're a subscriber to stackinginbox.com, you'll get all of Stoney's articles. You'll also get some occasional drinking with the scouts, and we get drunk and we just put on hot mics.
Get
and
on
we just
them
talk.
King Cake Seltzers.
Yeah, we get on those King
I don't
Cake
even
seltzers.
remember the name of that brewery. I'll have to go on
I have it on
Instagram.
my iPad case, so
Oh, you do?
I think they gave us I got us a sticker.
I might have found the bartender and followed her on Instagram.
I'm sure I probably have it on Instagram, and right? I probably got a location tag or something on there.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
We'll figure that.
We'll find that.
But that will also be something right there. And then also, I'll have some special guests I'm recording with while I'm down there to maybe throw up on Football and Other Efforts. So you want to make sure, throw up on Football and Other Efforts, not
my
throw
bad.
up on.
I gotta listen. I gotta work
And
on my listening.
they'll be part of those shows. And of course, we'll do our preview show Monday when we get there. We'll get there at 6 p.m. We'll go live. We'll give you our little preview show, players that we're interested in seeing, players that you guys need to keep your eyes on, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we'll be live tweeting during the practices like we usually do. All the great insight that you guys come to expect from me and Stoney when we're down there at Senior Bowl, you guys are going to get right here on 105 The Zone. Stoney Keeley, thanks for coming in. At Stoney Keeley, SoBrosNetwork.com. You also have StackingInbox.com, Hot Read Podcast, and you guys will be down there recording. Also, the Hot Read Podcast will be Tuesdays and Thursday.
Yeah, Tuesday and Friday.
Tuesday and Friday. So there you go.
I think Wednesday too.
And Wednesday too. There you go.
JT,
so you're gonna
JT
get a
Runke has it all mapped out.
That's his last name, whatever you say. And then also, so you're gonna be all the Stoney all the time, just like an old day
It's
it's a little bit of a lighter load because we're not doing anything in the mornings.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, people don't realize like what a grind those few days are.
Yeah.
Until we get to that Friday, and then all hell breaks loose.
We just let it loose on that Friday.
Yep.
You can follow him on Twitter at Stoney Keeley. Follow me on Twitter at the Zach Lyons. Cover 2, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. all throughout the weekdays. Lucas Panzico will be filling in for me with Blaine while I'm gone. So that will be a fantastic show,
Lovely.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
A lovely show. I'm sure everybody will be like, God, thank God Zach's gone. Other than that,
break from
Jackson,
this guy.
how would you grade the show?
I'll give you 2 and A-. I love Stoney's chair joke.
There you go. Low bar to clear. We just got to sneak in jokes
Yeah.
like that. Other than that, this has been Football and Other F Words, and you have just been effed.